2015 I did a video starting here at Gloucester railway station and then moving into the city centre talking about regeneration, infrastructure and heritage. And now at the beginning of 2018 I'm coming back to try and do an update on what's moved forward and what's still going on. Firstly, the station behind me. Since 2015 we've had approval to build a new additional car park on the far side on Great Western Road and have access to the station from there for the first time ever in the station's history. However, on this side we've still got the problem of the underpass that leads through to Great Western Road and the hospital, and that is still really awkward and difficult, especially for young mums with pushchairs. And at the back of the existing car park, the access onto Metz Way still isn't there, so you have to come all the way around and do a 270-degree turn in order to head off towards Abbeymead, Barnweed and the Cotswolds and so on. So, all of these things will be solved if we get approved by the local enterprise partnership for a big pot of money that the government is funding, and a bid is in there right now, so we're waiting for the result. Now we're going to cross the road and look at the bus station. Behind me is the new bus station, and the new bus station, as you can see with the digger behind me, they've done all the works under the ground, they've sorted out the roads and the road access. Now it's just a case of getting the building done, and this will open in the summer or the late summer of this year and will be a major improvement to everybody's bus journeys into the centre of the city and become the hub from where you can go off to other parts of the county. It's just across the road from the train station, so making this a hub is really important, and it's happening. The Eastgate Shopping Centre has changed a lot over the last 10 years that I've been living here in Gloucester. It's looking much better and smarter and newer, many new shops, particularly the latest one, perhaps the deli at the entrance to the shopping centre from Southgate Street, which has been a great success. But there will be further changes, and the Eastgate Market and how that works and using the upstairs is part of what the City Council are working on with the Eastgate Shopping Centre and their plans for the city centre. This part of Eastgate Street then is important because it's got the Guildhall, which you can see behind me next to the Christmas tree just about to go. And the Guildhall is becoming one of the centres for our cultural growth, the way in which we're going to bring many more exciting ideas and creativity through drama and art. And part of that is going to be the new Gloucester Culture Trust, which has been set up by the City Council and is working incredibly closely with the very well-known Roundhouse in Camden in London to bring some of the best performances that are going in the country, bringing them up to Gloucester and showing them for residents up here. So behind me on my left here is BHS, which is now empty after that company collapsed. And there are going to be new retailers going in there pretty soon. The City Council will make some announcements. It's all part of the refurbishment of the King's Square in general, which the City Council and their partner Reef are working on, which is going to be very important to the future retail of the city centre. We're now going to walk on up into Southgate Street and have a look what's happening there. Here on Southgate Street there's a really significant project going on, which is going to bring about the reopening of the Crypt Schoolroom for the first time for a generation. You can see it behind me. It's called the Discover Decrypt project. I've been patron of the Discover Decrypt project for the last 10 years or so with the Bishop, and it's taken a long time, but we've got the Heritage Lottery Fund money now, and the guys who are working on the project, led by Canon Nicky Arthey, they're going to be taking that forward over the next 12 months. And then just behind that is the old Job Centre on Southgate Street, and that was a really horrific 1970s facade that should never have been allowed, and it's now going to be recladded thanks to money from the government that the City Council is using wisely. So this whole street is going to change. So behind me here on the bottom of Southgate Street is a really good example of Gloucester's regeneration in action. These are old buildings, they're originally medieval buildings. Some of them still need quite a lot of TLC, and the City Council will be working with the owners on that. But most importantly is what doesn't happen very often anywhere in the country now, which is the opening of a new pub. The Turk's Head will be specialising in local crafted beers. It'll be the sort of thing that CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale, supports strongly, and it's opening right here in the centre of Gloucester. Everybody knows the Gloucester Quays Shopping Centre has been an amazing success. It gets almost 7 million visitors a year now, of whom about 2 million walk up into the city centre. But one of the problems from that is that the crossing we've got by the CD rack here at the top of Southgate Street is very congested, especially during the summer and later on in the day. Cars can be queuing up for hundreds of yards, and there's a real likelihood one day of a bit of road rage as pedestrians can cross freely whenever they like. So one of the things I'm working on with the City and County Council is to make this into a proper traffic light system so that pedestrians know when they can cross safely and cars have the opportunity to be able to flow as well. And that's going to be one of the big changes that I hope will push through as soon as the County Council report is finished. I've just come down very briefly into the whole marina around Gloucester Docks because I think it's important that everybody sees some of the changes that are happening here. The Soldiers of Gloucester Museum's had funds from the Heritage Lottery Fund, so it's got much better exhibitions for both residents and tourists to see. Behind on the other side, I've talked about the new restaurants that are going to go up there, and stretching away behind me, behind the marina, is all the area that's been redone by Peel, the Gloucester Quays, the shopping and all the visitors. This is now one of the centre of England's most vibrant areas, and it's making a huge difference to Gloucester. Okay, now coming back towards the city centre in Lady Belgate Street, we've got behind me all the new buildings, which are where the students of the new University Business School that's relocated to Gloucester will be living in September 2018. And the new business school, which is going to open in Oxtels, again, it's going to make a real difference to the skills that people can get right here in our own city. You can see how it's going to change the landscape in Blackfriars. You've got the cathedral behind it in the distance. Blackfriars has had nothing happening in it for a very long time, below where the old Dominican Priory is. This is going to change things, and when it's finished, don't worry, it'll look a lot better than it does now. Standing here just off Lady Belgate Street, you get a really good idea of Gloucester's geographical and historical diversity, but also what's happening in regeneration terms. So behind me on this side is another view of the student accommodation for the University of Gloucestershire, and then next to it behind me is what the new facade of Shire Hall and the buildings around it are going to look like when the government money for the regeneration of Blackfriars has been spent on recladding these buildings. And it's not just to make them look good either, it's because it's going to have much greater energy efficiency and save the taxpayer a lot of costs on heating all the offices where the County Council employees work. But also behind me you can see the old tower of the old fire station that's been preserved, and there are offices next to it. And the whitewash building is where Emma Willis shirts are now manufacturing shirts in the centre of Gloucester that are being used by people like the royal family and also people in America and Saudi Arabia. So we've got manufacturing, we've got Shire Hall and the great organisation that controls so much of local government spending, and we've got the students as well. This is all part of what the regeneration of Blackfriars and our city centre is made up of. Of course, not everything is already finished or brilliantly done or looking fantastic. Behind me is the NCP car park on Longsmith Street, which is a particularly good example of where we went wrong in the 60s and 70s in Gloucester. It's a pretty hideous building, it needs to come down, and that's something which I know the City Council are working on, as well as refurbishing and regenerating the old Fleece Hotel behind it. It's both an asset and a liability, but when it's right, when it's finished, it'll be another great place in the centre of our city with lots of history that people can use and really enjoy. So this is another view of what the building where our city centre police operation is, and also Shire Hall and all their services, looks like behind me. And then as the camera pans to the right, you can see our old Crown Court, a Napoleonic building, a particularly fine building, but one where we've already spent a little bit of money trying to improve it and making sure that our justice services are as good as they can be here. But there's more we need to do, and there are plans for a completely new justice centre, possibly out at Waterwells, which could be a really good improvement for everybody's justice needs in the county. And one of the things in any city centre that people want to see are really good flourishing independent shops with a variety of things attractively presented that will help both residents and tourists have a great experience of coming to our city. So I'm here in one really good example. It's just won the Best Dressed Window of the Year award. And here we have it. The Candle Tree is looking absolutely fabulous. It's newly opened, and its owner and organiser, Sandra, and her stepson are here behind me as well. So that's what regeneration also involves. People who've got the confidence to come and invest and make our shops look fab. We've been on a journey. We started at the train station, we came through the city centre and around Blackfriars, we looked down on the docks, and now we've in a sense come back to the most iconic heart of the city itself, the cathedral. And even here there's been regeneration and change. The hugely successful Project Pilgrim funding and all the changes that has made inside and outside is coming to an end. You can see the work over my shoulder finishing in what will be a beautiful garden outside soon. I could go on to talk about compassion and what we're doing to help the homeless and rough sleepers, but that's for another film. This has been about the transport infrastructure, the regeneration of the city and the heritage, and what is going to make this city an even lovelier place to live in and work in, and a greater place for tourists to come and visit.